Well, hello, everybody. There's a lot going on here today on episode 72 of Prep Talk Live. I'm not sure if you know, but Tup has gone through some changes. Tup it was a whole Freaky Friday thing, and Sutton's Days, they have switch places, switch bodies, and so,
canning so much he decided to grow out some hair and other appendages.
He decided that the hat was really a whole different thing, so he was going to go with the bandana whole thing.
Exactly. Yeah.
So Tup was here a minute ago. There's a bit of a family emergency, so he had to go. He may come back. He's not sure of the situation, so he was running downstairs to go see. So he may pop back on if he can, and if not, then we hope everything goes well, and we will all send our collective best thoughts and wishes to him and all of that. And Sutton's Days and I will hold down the fort in the meantime.
Be very afraid.
Yeah, exactly. Sustainable Prepping may also jump on because now, this show has just taken on a whole mind of its own now. We just got people show up and check in and all this kind of stuff. It's a whole thing.
It is.
So I'm Casey with Cascadia Dispatch, and joining me as a special guest, host, co-host, the queen herself, Sutton's Days.
You can call me Lisa.
You know, that was a question I was going to ask you off air. Was how actually do you pronounce? Because I've heard people say Lisa, but the way that it's spelled, I was like, okay, is there an accent?
Yeah.
Is there a pronunciation that I should know?
My mom had a thing for vowels, and so she threw it. Actually, she hated Liza Minnelli, and she was afraid that if she spelled it Lisa, somebody would call me Liza. I mean, my mother hated Liza Minnelli. So that's her reason.
I thought you said she dated Liza.
Oh no, hated Liza Minnelli. Yeah. But it's actually not as uncommon as you think, and it's generational. I have found it's very much in my age bracket, probably 7 years either side, and then it waited like a whole generation and came back again. It's not super common, but it's not unusual, and there's a lot in Australia that spell it this way.
Oh, it's like the Australians. Aren't you very cosmopolitan with your Australian spellings of things?
You know, I try.
do you add you into the word color? Do you add?
Oh yeah. I tried that when I was a kid. Yeah, I wanted to be super cool, so I tried to spell everything. Yeah, it wasn't super cool. It was stupid. But anyway,
Daniel Taylor said, the 26 to 35 year age bracket, right?
Yeah.
I think that's correct.
Yep.
Daniel's on fire already.
I know.
The chat room is just and Pony Girl is here. She's very excited that you're here. We got all caps from Pony Girl.
She's very happy.
She is. It's like she was a Swiftie and happened to be at the Kansas City Chiefs game this weekend. Yeah. That's, I think, was going on.
I saw something about that. It's a little odd.
You saw something about that?
Yeah.
That's like the sun imploded and I think I may have seen a byline.
I'm not a sports fan. Mm-hmm. I don't care. But what was it? Oh, I was scanning the New York Times, and that actually made the news in the New York Times, and they were,
It was, yes. I will say it was an epic.
She showed up at the game with some dude's mother.
But what happened was, Taylor Swift. Are you familiar with Taylor Swift?
I know Taylor Swift. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So she's the Swifties and the songs and all. Yep. Okay. Mm-hmm. So Travis Kelce is a really amazing football player, tight end for Kansas City.
Okay.
He has a brother. They're both seemingly very nice gentlemen. I don't know if there's something problematic in their history that I don't know about, but from everything I can tell, they're very nice people. And last year, they ended up playing in the Super Bowl against each other.
Oh.
And their mom is a wonderful she's from Ohio. She's a very nice Midwestern mom.
Yeah.
So the whole Super Bowl was like her mom was like their mom was like a celebrity and on all the shows, and they called it the Kelsey Bowl because it was like all of this stuff.
Yeah.
So then they did a documentary about the brother who plays for the other team because he was going to retire. Oh, Sustainable Prepping has joined us in our Taylor Swift, Travis Kelce
Hello,
prepping
I'm learning
roundup.
about football.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Hi.
Sutton's Days did not understand why Taylor Swift and Travis Kelce made the front page of the New York Times. And so I was trying to explain a little bit of the history of why this happened. So they have a podcast. The Kelce brothers have a podcast. And Travis Kelce said, I went to her concert. I tried to get her a friendship bracelet with my phone number on it because she's my celebrity crush. And then there was some communication. And he said, you lit up the stage at Arrowhead, which is where the Chiefs play their football games.
Okay.
Why don't you come and watch me light up the stage as well, and we'll see what happens. And so no one really thought it was going to happen. And then she showed up in his suite, sitting next to his mom, talking to his mom the whole time and cheering and just being like a normal human being who is just a nice person, supposedly.
Yeah.
And then they left in a car, which is a lyric from one of her songs. There was a getaway car.
Is he going to be the main topic of her next song?
I know. Will she have a whole album about him? Who knows?
Like, the number of people who are hoping that is the case. And the reason it made the New York Times, not only because it was on every news station and everything everywhere else, but he gained 300,000 Instagram followers in 24 hours. He was the fifth highest selling jersey overnight. The ratings for the football game were 10% higher than any other football game had ever been.
Taylor Swift's attention.
Listen, I saw a meme that said that blondes have saved the economy because between the Barbie movie, Beyonce, who is a fake blonde, and Taylor Swift, who's probably now a fake blonde, they have staved off a recession. They have generated so much money from the economy. They may have single-handedly or triple-handedly saved us from a major recession.
Yes, it is. It is the economic
joke.
Oh, the economic power.
50.
Yes, well, and then like the NFL got involved in it, and so then they
made like a post about like Taylor Swift was here.
Yeah, they changed their bio on TikTok and everything to be like 9/24/23. Taylor was here, and they were posting memes and things, and it's kind of this. It feels to me very similar to Lisa. I'm assuming you didn't go see Taylor Swift in concert.
No, I missed that.
Okay, Brooke, did you go see the concert?
I don't have that kind of money.
Okay, we lucked out and got in the battle for the Ticketmaster like thing originally. We ended up getting nosebleed seats.
Wow!
And took the kids, and it was one of the most incredible moments I have been a part of because not only was the concert incredible, but the feeling of all the people that were there. And we went up to Seattle to do it, and Seattle has its reputation. But everybody everybody in the city was excited. It was the same weekend that Barbie came out, so everybody was either going to see Barbie, Taylor Swift, or the baseball game, and it was just. And so this whole Travis Kelce thing has a very similar feel because of all of the NFL fans and all of the Taylor Swift fans.
Okay,
and it's husbands and wives talking about football that never really did because now
emergency water just sitting on my desk. You're a prepper when you're moving around emergency water packs that are literally on your desk.
You were so excited hearing about Taylor. You were like, I'm thirsty. I need a minute. I need a
listen. I have several friends who went, because she's been around for so long.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like Home Slice has been making albums for more than 15 years that I have friends who have been listening.
My God, she's a baby.
Yeah. She started touring at 14. Now touring in a little festivals. But she's 33 or 34 now, and she's been touring since she was 14, 15. And I think she started opening for Luke Bryant or somebody.
Oh yeah,
I don't remember.
Like 16 or 17. Like she's been at this a long time. She's got a huge volume, and so I have a lot of I'm from the South, so I have a lot of friends who knew her when she just did country, and watched her evolve into this like sort of Americana pop music, but knew her when she was like a little country thing and had, the Kanye interrupting her and whatever, like that 15 years ago. I mean, it's wild to think about. But so I have a lot of adult friends that are in their 30s and early 40s that like went to go see her with all the little teeny boppers because they've loved her that long. Like they've followed her music and her career for a really, really long time. And so I did not go because I bought a house instead.
And look, that is fair.
Every penny that I had to spend went to buying a house.
It's a good plan.
I am officially older than fart dust, but okay, yeah.
All right, so back to prepping. Back
to prepping.
Yeah, exactly.
What was the topic tonight anyway?
So, all right, so too much prepping. So I was having a feeling this week where sometimes you go through those times where you're like, I just don't want to think about prepping right now. Like, I don't want to think about another prepping project or the world coming to an end or whatever. Like, you're just kind of burnt out and like all of that stuff. And I'm curious, okay, does anybody else ever feel that way? Does anyone else have like what are strategies for like, as people who have kind of gone from, I would say, prepping moments to a prepping lifestyle of like, it's all prepping all the time in everything that we do. How do you disconnect a little bit from that hyper vigilant, always thinking about stuff into like, okay, I'm just going to take a nap for a minute and then we'll get back to it.
Go ahead, Breck.
Well, I took a pause on my channel. Those of you who do follow me, if you don't follow me, I had a channel I started in 2020 and I took a 6-month break because the hypervigilance and honestly the prepping community so focuses on the negative. We have a bad habit of, because we want to be prepared for disasters, we're looking for the next disaster, right? And some of our fellow YouTubers can be the worst about looking for the next disaster. Is that a saying?
They're just the worst. They don't even know they're the worst about the disaster. They're just the worst.
Listen,
sometimes.
I have learned a lot from some of the OG prepping channels. I kind of fangirled over Lisa last week, but it's true. There are channels that have been around for a long time, that have been around for 7 or 8 years, and you are not one that has ever made me feel afraid of things. You've always been so even keel about stuff, but the biggest channels aren't like that. And they're big because they sell fear. And I had to walk away. I had to just say, I know what my preps are, right? I've met all the benchmarks that I wanted. Right now, the best thing I can do is be present to my family. I've got 4 kids. My youngest are twin toddlers. So, we had just moved states and we're trying to buy a house. The best prep for me was having good mental health and taking care of my mental health and my physical health. So focusing on getting my mental health in a good space, going to the gym. I go to the gym every week. I'm getting my guns. But
and you have arm muscles too. It's a prepping joke. It's a prepping joke. It's someone had to say it.
I just think that sometimes you do have to press pause and accept that like you're not going to add to your pantry every single week, or you're not going to do every DIY project every week, and you can have fallow periods. Like, we're not meant to go 24/7. Rest is, heaven forbid I say the word Sabbath, right? But rest matters too. So that's my opinion. That sometimes you're allowed to say, taking a break.
100%. Hello. How are we doing?
Doing okay.
Okay.
Sorry for the delay.
No, that's all right. We were concerned. We're glad to see you're here. If you need to leave again, just
I think I'm okay for a few minutes. So
okay, all right. Well, welcome.
So how do you deal with prepping too much?
For prepping too much? Well, usually my wife is, you're prepping too much. No, how do I deal with it? Prep
How
some
did you
more.
pose that question, Casey? How did you pose
so it's so talking about like prepping burnout and like when there's, it seems like we prep a lot and we're prepping all the time, and like I think when you've been prepping, when you start to absorb it into life, it's not even a thing you consciously think about. You're just always looking at like, is there ugly chicken on sale? Do we have enough water? Have we saved enough money? Like you're just constantly, it's part of your filter of how you take in information and process it. And at a certain point, like it can be exhausting and you're like, okay, I would like to just take a minute and not think about all of these problems. And so what are some strategies and ideas? Like, how do we deal with that?
Oh, geez. Yeah, I find that the times if I'm prepping too much is because I'm being too driven by like current event type things where I'm hyper focusing on certain areas because I think there's a lack of it, and then I'll instead of sticking like with like I try to have like my mission or the plan that I have in place. So usually if I find that I'm prepping too much, it's usually because I'm really worried about something due to some kind of current event that I saw on Twitter or something like that. And so I usually what I go dark and I turn off everything and I try to get down to the basics. But I don't know if I really have prepping burnout. I have YouTube burnout and stuff like that for sure. Prepping related YouTube things, but for prepping, it's kind of like I don't know. It's I get peace of mind with prepping every time that I do it because I feel okay. No, I'm good there. Now let me worry about that. And I don't know if I get a burnout from prepping. It's also kind of like if I was more. If I worked out more or was like a jogger or something, I probably want to get jogger burnout because it feels good. So, or working out, but of course I'm not that muscular, so I don't work out that much. But that's the analogy that I'm thinking of for this. So, if you like doing it, it's like it for me, it's fun. It gives me peace of mind. It gives me a sense of calmness, and it's not like I'm like spending 8 hours like prepping daily where it's eating into other type of things. But yeah, for me, like again, I think if I am doing that, it's because I'm freaked out about something that's, and usually turning off the TV helps. So.
You're silencing Canadian Preppers notifications.
Yeah, he's blocked.
Yeah. He's blocked. Sorry, Nate. We love you.
It was a good run, but
yeah, exactly.
I don't ban like individual channels. I just won't turn it on. Like I just won't even look at it. So
yeah, definitely. All right, Lisa, how about you? Because you've been doing it for longer. I think you've been doing it for longer than any of us. I feel like the canning and all of the things, like, I mean, you maybe give Tup a run for his money, but like for those of us newbies,
might be pretty close. Yeah, I much like Tup. This is a way of life. I intentionally, I live in the middle of nowhere, so I don't get normal news stations. We don't have cable TV. Anything I get, I stream or I subscribe to the New York Times, and half the time I don't remember to click on it to read it. I have a cursory view just to keep enough aware of what's going on so that I can make decisions for what's going on for us. But one of my friends, I was just talking to my friends, I was up, I'm always up obscenely early in the morning. It's just when I roll over, but I actually apologized to my husband today going, I'm sorry, I don't want to wake you up, but this is what we have to do today, And so it was, we're taking his truck in to get some repairs done. And while we're in town, I need to stop at my friend's house because she told me that her grapevine is flooded with grapes. And so I'm out there at 7:30 in the morning, pulling every Concord grape on her fence into buckets, and for me, it really is, it's a constant, there's always something to do. Because just making sure that the pantry's filled, making sure that we have what we need, making sure medically that we have what we need, that the cars are taken care of. My big push right now is before it snows. So, it's okay. They're saying it's going to snow in 5 weeks or so. And that's about right. It's going to be a cold Halloween, but I'm just trying to make sure that I've got everything that we need so that I can get snowed in, because that is my ultimate goal. Because I like the people in this house, but outside of this house, it gets a little crazy. But my friend pointed out to me, it is such a way of life for me. She's so excited. Now, I love her. I love Jan. She's, I think, 84. And if she sees this, I apologize if I'm wrong. But
shout out to Jan.
Shout out to Jan.
Shout out to Jan. Yeah.
But she's my Concord grape hookup. But she's telling me that she got a subscription to Sam's Club. So she goes, if you ever want to go down there, I have a card. And I said, Jan, actually, I've got a subscription. I said, we go down there about, I don't know, twice a year for specific things that they won't ship. One of them happens to be the sugar-free lemonade that we both love, because neither one of us drinks soda anymore. And sometimes you need a break from water. So they have this lemonade. And I said, so we go down there and get, she goes, just a couple times a year. I said, well, yeah, because every time I go, I get like 20 cases of it. And she goes, she's like, you never do anything small, do you? I'm like, I try not to. I try not to, you know? So like, for me, it's just, you know, I've gotten into this system so well that I can move that budget around to make those, you know, crazy purchases to where then I can move it around again because I don't have to buy it again for a long time. So
I love that you were talking about that the truck needed to go into the shop, and everyone in the chat was thinking it was like a pickup truck. And then you talking about your Sam's Club things, we all realized that it was a semi truck.
Well, wouldn't that be cool?
Mm-hmm.
Phil would love that, actually. Phil's an old retired over the road driver. I hate driving. Yeah, I get south of town anymore, and I get white knuckled and freak out. But yeah.
So we
I like my town of 900, you know?
So we need to get you one of those Teslas with the auto driving capability.
Sweet God, no. No, I will never, no.
I just wanted to see how, like, did you get a physical tick or did you just scream and upturn the table when I said
no, not good. But I guess I haven't experienced burnout because it's like getting up in the morning and brushing your teeth. It's just what I do. It's not my hyper focus.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes you do have to stop and redirect depending on what craziness is going on. But for the most part, it's just what I do. So
I have a theory, but first I have to call out, we got this fantastic comment. Love the new format with the multiple guests and point of view.
Yeah.
Look at us. Just
moving on up.
Just making it happen. That's amazing.
You are wrong.
So I was thinking as you all three were talking about this, and as I was relating it to my own experience a little bit, did you grow up with prepping and these sorts of activities as part of your life and part of things that like your parents were modeling for you, or is it something that you came to later in life? And the reason I say that is for me, like we grew up with some like, especially like financial preparedness sort of stuff, but like we weren't canning or anything like that, you know, necessarily. And then I kind of came to it later on, and now it has become a thing that I think about. But like, I feel like it's when you pick up a new sport or something, like it's new and you love it and everything, but also you're not fully used to it. Like it's something you have to put extra effort into. And I'm curious if any of you grew up with that. So it was more of like ingrained from, you know, childhood that like, this is what we do. And so it's maybe a little bit of a more normal thing.
No, I grew up insecure and broke.
Did you always live in the country, Lisa?
No, I grew up in a suburb of Detroit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I wonder if people who live in small towns like you do, where supply lines are naturally more fragile than in urban areas where at least there's the illusion of more secure food lines. Supply lines. If there's a reason why prepping is more prevalent, because like you could easily be snowed in where you are. At least you talk about being snowed in. That's a very real reality.
I want to be snowed in. God is not cooperating. Okay.
Well, I used to live in West Virginia where that happens. So I was like, everybody was a prepper without thinking about it because you could be snowed up the mountain. Right. I mean, some of the little towns, you know, there was a little town called Helvetia about 40 minutes up a mountain. And like every year, the one road in washed out and they had to rebuild it so people could get down. So you had to plan for months that you were stuck up, you know, up the mountain without being able to get down to the one Walmart, which is where I lived. So they would never call themselves preppers. That wouldn't have made sense. They were just preparing for winter.
That's just the way life is. Yeah, that's just the way life was. And you don't do that in the city. I mean, definitely. So I think in this instance, there is, to an extent, I'm actually surprised at the number of people that I know in our area that could not make it 3 days.
Yeah.
I mean, that always just astounds me. Now, the farmers down the road, this is just what you do. My neighbor's losing her ever loving mind because she put her garden in late. She's just starting to harvest everything. She's got pigs that have to be slaughtered. She's got cows that need to be taken, and oh, by the way, it's going to snow in a few weeks, so she's trying to play catch up and get all that done so that she's ready for it. But then there are other people, down the road that honestly, if something happened and they couldn't leave their house, for 3 days, they'd be hungry. And I'm locking my door.
Lisa, I love it. It's like nature's moat. Just give me the snow around me and just blockade, and that's fantastic.
Yeah.
Did you grow up like, so prepping, like there's lots of different pieces to prepping and everything else. And like I've said a lot, like the financial preparedness thing, like that was a thing growing up that like I feel like I got more than a lot of other kids did, but like a lot of their families went camping and our family never went camping, and their families canned jellies and things, and our family didn't do that. Right. So it's kind of different skills and
different skill sets,
yeah, and like, okay, if you go camping, then like all the gear that goes camping. So like when I was trying to figure that out, I was like, oh, I have to figure out all the things I need to go camping and then actually go camping, which is a whole different proposition.
See, now, and I've got a friend, he could, I don't, we might see him a couple times a year, but he's kind of local. And his idea of camping is, I'm going for a walk in the woods and I'll see you in a few days.
Yeah.
Regardless of the time of year. He's into foraging. He's into that, so it's totally what interests you. And that's the road that you end up going down, but he also does it because, well, he's always, grown up broke and whatnot. So it just depends on your perspective, I guess.
Tup, how about you? Are you foraging for food in the woods, or you're,
Yeah, well, I'm first generation prepper, so I'm the first of my name.
First of my name.
Cup one.
I'm cup one. I'm breeding a whole new set of new preppers that coming out. They're going to be better than.
Does your wife know that you're breeding a whole set of new preppers?
Yeah,
I feel like
we
all right. Is this like a sister wives show coming out on TLC, or
oh
like
God.
What's happening?
I don't see her putting up with that, honestly.
Yeah,
No.
I didn't either, but maybe the TLC money is really good.
I feel like Mrs. Urban Prepper would not allow.
I don't. She wouldn't be cool with that.
That would be limping hard.
But yeah, no, I think like my grandparents, I know they would always tell stories about like from the Great Depression and stuff, and like what they got for Christmas. When my grandma told the story where her and her two sisters during the Great Depression, they each got a nail file for Christmas, and so that was like, I think they didn't call it prepping back then. I don't know when prepping became a term, but I think they always would store food and stuff like that and have stuff in the pantry, but it was just like normal. It was just like what you did type thing. I think that probably the baby boomers, maybe they got out of it. I don't know. At least
that's when they came up with the frozen dinners and convenience.
Let's make the just-in-time delivery type stuff. Right. Maybe that's what it was coming in now. Yeah. So it skips a generation now. This is the generation of the preppers, and hopefully the next. I think maybe with COVID, I think
we're still a minority.
You think? Yeah, probably so. Hopefully, you would think after COVID that it would make a lot more preppers, but
you would think so, but. I saw people that are like, oh yeah, we're going to do this. And now they're like, well, we're fine. Yeah, we're good.
Yeah.
Well, but I think too, I mean, and this is my bias, because this is the population I'm trying to reach with my channel isn't people who already do prepping. I'm trying to reach all those people who are like, well, maybe I should have more than toilet paper. Like, what else do I need? I'm trying to get to the working millennial, if you will, right? That person that remembers the pandemic and is like, I don't want to do that again. But then they type in prepping and they get doom and gloom and the scary stuff that then scares them away and goes, I don't think we're there. Are we there? We're not really there. And then they run away. And so I do think there's a lot of people that genuinely just get too overwhelmed and their brains go, we're not in that kind. That's so unlikely. So therefore, I'm not going to do anything, because to admit that these things could happen is paralyzing. Like it's emotionally freezing. So I think we're a minority, and it is my goal, right? It's my one woman mission to bring it to the mainstream. I want the Swifties to all be preppers. Like, this is my goal, right?
But that's, and
they're putting like canning recipes on the friendship bracelets.
Oh god.
And
paracord.
Yeah, they're all made with compasses now.
The glow, they can have little glow stick beads, so that if it's dark, you can see, like little toilet paper mints. Like, let's make.
Okay, Frankie, you watched the show long enough to know that we come up with wild and crazy ideas on this thing. Like, I feel like the survival friendship bracelet is a thing that we need to come up with.
A thing. Who's got the store can put it together. Boom. I think my dad is going to be 80 in December, and he grew up in Minnesota in the 40s and 50s. He's the oldest of 6, and so a lot of what you're talking about, your grandparents going through, was also a reality for my dad, right? Like, the mail was still delivered by sleigh in winter because it snowed so much, right? And his granddad was the sleigh driver, right? Like, that's his reality. And so when he had kids in his midlife and had moved to the South, that very every day, they would never call it prepping. They would call it just survival. It's something that was baked in to our lifestyle. Additionally, we were living history reenactors. So I grew up primitive camping. I grew up cooking in cast iron oven over an open fire 4 or 5 times a year. We didn't can. Like, I didn't know about canning it. Well, I knew about it like peripherally because I have family in like deep Alabama, but like nobody I knew did it because it's so labor intensive. But yeah, I think it helps.
ATF has entered the chat, and just like I feel like what we need to do is I need to go to like a different screen setting. Like, we'll go to like this screen setting. Yeah. Like, you and I could just be over here in the side.
ATF is I first met ATF in the year 2011, and he's nonstop. He always comes clutch with slightly insulting. That's just been all in love. So for over a decade, for about a decade and a half, ATF will, it's good this week, or he'll talk a little smack, but I think it's all in love. So that's pretty funny. But I think he is right. It is more interesting, and I think I always like Sutton State's bandana. Now that I know that she's from Detroit, it makes me think of some Sutton State's gang that she was in back in the day.
Yeah,
and then Sustainable Prepping has the cool, tank top looking thing. So
I mean, but
we got some hardcore.
Brett brings up a very valid point, because
because you're carrying the show now again.
No, sorry, we're back on conversation. Sorry. Yeah, okay. Because the demographic of my viewers for my channel are from 45 to 80 something. And probably one of the most humbling things that I get are emails from 61, 71, 81-year-olds that say, you taught me how to can.
Yeah.
I just learned how to can because of you. And I'm like, learning how to can at 81 is amazing. That's an undertaking, right? But food insecurity is so serious anymore that this is something that I think everyone needs to pay attention to. It's not about the end of the world as we know it. Okay. It's about job loss. It's about medical issues. It's everyday life throwing you curveballs, your husband cutting off body parts, that kind of crap. But it's, you guys don't know the history. Never mind. So anyway,
What? Yeah. Who cut off a body part, and what did he do?
What are you canning now, Sutton State?
I'll never tell. I will never tell. But it's everyday. It's everyday life, and you can become prepared for that.
I love that. We're now finding out that Phil used to go by Philip, Until there was that one fateful night that he crossed Lisa. Now he's just Phil.
No, it's about every 2-3 years he does something. So yeah, he cut off one thumb, and then he took another thumb off in a log splitter, and then this year he messed up his foot pretty. So I mean, you know, these are the kind of things that you're working around on top of body parts. Lisa, yes, Pony. So I'm watching the chat, and I'm trying, but it's life. Life happens. Car accidents happen, medical issues happen, kids happen, this happens, and so if you don't have to go buy toilet paper, toothbrushes, or chicken, you're that much easier.
Well, and I think, and this is where I feel like, again, I'm the outlier in the prepping community, and I'm very happy to be that person, where I'm really trying to talk to like people who are in the environmental movement, because environmental, like, I believe global climate change is a thing. Science is telling us it's a thing. I think a lot of us have experienced it like in our lives as a thing, right? And I believe that by the time my children are adults, we are going to have to do things like home can. And we are going to have, because we're just not going to be able to live the lifestyles we have now. I just don't think we're going to, our technology is going to improve fast enough to keep up with the demands and
have
the
you
changes.
Heard of the World Health Organization and how they want to run everything?
Well, well, that's what I'm saying. I mean, I think that we're just going to hit this like place where we're going to have a lot more of that personal responsibility, because it's not going to get there. I just think that we're going to, I think we should plan for that. Like less electricity, for example, like less access to things like electricity, not because there's not like renewable resources. We just don't have the battery power, for example, to make solar worthwhile, like to make solar truly efficient.
I don't have enough sun.
I'm getting into some dangerous territory with preppers. But
no, because I think we all come at it from different angles. But see, you're and you and I are seeing the same things, but in different directions, because I see them taking away our ability to do home food preservation instead of expanding it.
I don't know if they would necessarily expand it, although I do hope that it continues to expand, because I've seen more like state level colleges getting funding for research. I think University of Utah and UGA both got more research grants in the last year after the
they haven't published anything or updated anything yet.
I don't think they've concluded the research. I think they got more money than they've gotten in the last decade, because so many people are home canning. I agree with you with the World Health Organization. And I think there's a lot of problems with like the Gates organization's emphasis on like vegetarianism and things like that. I used to be vegetarian for 16 years, and I say I really find a lot of these things really problematic, because it's not people on the ground, it's people up in high rises making decisions. But that being said, I think that having multiple forms of food preservation that don't rely on refrigeration are going to become really important, because I think yes, we have very efficient refrigerators, but I do think we're going to see our fragile infrastructure continue to crumble, and we're not going to be able to fix it in time to see problems. And so from that just purely like practical piece, I think we're going to have to take on a lot of this labor that we laid down for convenience foods and pick it back up again. And this is where I think you see preppers and homesteaders overlapping. And this is where I'm trying to get
all doing the same thing. Yeah.
Well, yeah, they're often doing this. Their motivations are usually different, but they're often doing the same thing. And this is where I'm trying to get all the like environmentalist hippies to join the conversation and be like, hi, you're seeing a problem. Like, we're seeing a problem. Let's be in the conversation. You belong here. And so, because like I had a great conversation with a woman who is in Portland, and she just had this realization that like, holy crap, like an environmental apocalypse is totally possible. And she'd never thought about it. She was like, what do I do? And she found me, and she was like, what do I do? Everybody's telling me I should have bullets and beans and band-aids, and what do I do? And I was like, okay, calm down. And she was coming at it totally from an environmental perspective, like the climate crisis perspective, which I think is new to the prepping community, because that's not been the crisis that most preppers have thought about, right? Civil unrest, nuclear war, weather, but like not weather catastrophe as the biggest catalyst, more like a layering catalyst.
Oh no, it's out there. It's out there.
Yeah, but I think that when people talk about the big bads, I don't know. I think that that's the everyday bads. But you look at
grand solar minimum, grand solar maximum,
like EMPs. nuclear winter, those
I mean,
sorts.
because those are man-made and men suck. But the weather, we really truly have no control. Yeah, thanks. Smash the patriarchy. Anyway, so the weather we truly have no control over. And so whether you call it climate change or the grand solar minimum, maximum, or the multiple names that goes by, it's a cyclical thing that happens to the earth regardless. We may be expediting the entire process with the nonsense that men, but this it's still something that's happening and is unpredictable. So I've actually done quite a bit of reading on severe weather issues because we're in the middle of them. They're happening.
Yes. Yeah, and they're going to just get worse and worse. I think one of the best prepping videos, like across the board, that I've seen, I think it was City Prepping, did a really great video on climate change. And he kind of went out on a limb because that's not something that preppers talk about, but he did a really lovely, in-depth, well-researched, and he's a scientist. That's his background, is microbiology.
I think he was but I guess if you put the term prepper, you put the term homesteader, you put the term climate change, regardless of what you call it, the climate is changing. Okay. And so I think that's where people kind of go, oh, it's climate change. We're not going to talk about that. No, the climate is changing.
Weather is more intense.
Yeah. So it's being able to sit down and look at that and go, what are we going to do to survive the climate changing? So
Daniel, we're just
the girls to be quiet.
Well, actually, I was just thinking that. I think Breck and I are just going to sit back now. You guys go.
What I love is the only thing I was thinking in my head as Tup is sitting there is we made it 71 and a half episodes without mentioning the World Health Organization or the Gates Foundation.
Were we not supposed to?
Here I am ruining your streak.
Were we not supposed to?
You're welcome.
Nobody gave us a rule.
Oh no, it struck me as funny. So because Tup and I have had conversations about different things, and we try to the point about trying to bring in people who are new and all that sort of stuff. So we generally try to not talk about like politics or that sort of stuff.
No, politics and religion are out.
Yeah, and so it was just
tinfoil hats can be all different shades.
Exactly. And so it was just funny to me that it was like in one paragraph of a conversation, we got both of them.
Hey, Breck.
I love it. So yeah, okay. So I think the climate change thing, 100%. And Breck, I live in Portland or just outside of Portland. Like it is a very blue city. Like there is a definite difference between if you go out to Bend or Eastern Oregon or even Southern Oregon. Like it's one of the interesting dynamics in Oregon is the way that different areas of the state kind of behave and think about things like climate change or earthquake preparation or just any of that sort of stuff. Certain rights and restrictions of certain equipment or things like that, like is a very interesting debate that happens in the state, especially because there's most of the state is rural and most of the population lives in two cities that are very, very liberal. And so there's a lot of half of the state wants to secede and go move to Idaho. Like that's a thing that they
Georgia is like that too.
It's a thing that they think can happen. It's like, okay, can we spend time on something that's gonna happen and not you made a lot of signs. Why? But anyway, I digress. So I think that there is this kind of feeling that there are certain groups of people who are used to prepping, who think about that, and other groups of people who just have never and realize, for whatever reason, whether it was the earthquake, whether it was COVID, whether it was oh my goodness, I have nothing, and where do I even start from?
Yeah.
And then you go on YouTube, and everyone is wearing camo and has the "Don't Tread on Me" flag behind them, and all of their equipment all over the place. And you're like, wait a minute, I'm a dad of 2, I'm a mom of 3, I'm 21 years old. Like, what do I, this is not what I'm signing up for. Like, I just want to be able to keep my family safe and make it through, a power outage or something like that. And how do we, and I think that's one of the things that in each of our channels we share is, Tup has made a lot more videos than I have. I'm sure Lisa, I don't know, she's probably made 10 times as many videos as Tup has.
I one time counted
one of the first channels that when I started watching YouTube that wasn't homesteading content. So it was Sutton's Days, Linda's Pantry. That was my inroads, teaching me canning, and then the Urban Prepper. And I watched all your module because you're the only one that does all the modules. Like, you have everything so organized. It was amazing.
You see today's video? Tup put out a video today.
I did.
And I was so wildly impressed with the 3 coin. Those 3 coin purses were like, damn, I gotta get those. Yeah.
Little OCD helps out.
Absolutely.
I don't know. I'm trying to figure out how to respond to the topic, but I think I've always tried to treat prepping fairly universal because I don't want to. I think you don't want to polarize your audience because it's whatever it takes to inspire someone to be. I used to be like anti-zombie preppers, like the people that were making zombie bags. But I think there's like an intersectionality between prepping causes that, as long as whether you're worried about a worldwide climate catastrophe that happens, or you're worried about zombies or aliens, or you're worried about economic collapse or the doom and gloom stuff, I think you're going to get some of the same preps. You're going to be prepping, and you'll be less of a drain on the grid if something were to go down. So to me, at least what I present on YouTube, I wouldn't want to really present it with, I'm going for this audience, because then I'm going to alienate this other audience. And then the whole point, I think, is to get more people into prepping. But I as far as like, I don't think they want us to be self-sustaining. I don't know if I agree with that part. Because if they would, like when you go to Home Depot, instead of showing green,
it's going to be a necessity. They can't stop. Is what I think is going to happen.
Yeah, I think it's all a money thing. I mean, they would be promoting, instead of having green grasses on your front lawn, they'd be promoting home gardens and stuff at Home Depot. And I don't think I think there's so much that's money related. But yeah, I'm a fan of everyone prepping, because then it's for the greater good. So, which is nice.
The more people that do it, with the less.
Yeah, when something goes, like if like during COVID, I bet the preppers weren't the ones going over to Costco and buying all the toilet paper,
right? Exactly.
And depleting grocery stores and stuff. We were like, oh, I get to test out my gear.
No, seriously. I mean, when we had the lockdowns, our big treat was to go to the small market and get cheesecake, because I didn't have cheesecake, but we had everything else.
Yeah.
So it's like,
hey, we bought milk and diapers. That's what we went to the store for the most part.
I got
fresh produce if we needed it.
Yeah. It was the comfort stuff.
Yeah, the
right?
comfort.
Yeah, because I don't keep a lot of comfort stuff around here, but that was my big thing, is I went to get cheesecake and just watch the news and see what's going on.
I do agree with sustainable prepping, as far as like when people go and research prepping for the first time, the first thing they're going to see is the scary stuff, and no one's smiling.
Oh, the world's coming into an end. World War III starts next week.
And then I just we spent so long trying to get away from the doomsday prepper things from like 2009 and 10, because it gave prepping a bad name. And then I thought we were kind of going in the right direction, where it was appealing to other, not just like people in the rural environment, but now due to like a lot of current event stuff, it's back to that. And it's kind of a shame, because I think it's turning off new prepper people that could be potential preppers, the next Sutton's Days and the next Cascadia Dispatch, whatever. Like, there could be all these new channels, but it takes that first step. And if the first step is something scary and we're all going to die, and you have 28
everyone
hours,
has such a different perspective on it, and everyone communicates in such a different way. Somebody who is watching Breck is going to tune into me and go, what the hell is she talking about? You know, so it's because they just don't communicate the same way. So I think we've all got a place talking about it. We'll all show it different ways, but it's like reality TV. I mean, when they started with reality TV, everybody loves a shit show except for Cliff at lunchtime. So everybody loves a shit show, and that's what people are tuning in. They want to see a shit show, So you're either here to learn something or you're here to watch somebody fall on their face. So
my grandma
used both for you.
My grandma used to say there's a lid for every pot. So I think everyone has what their lid is and what they're seeking.
Wise woman.
Yeah.
I bet she was a prepper in her way.
She was a closet prepper, yeah, for sure. So.
Yeah.
Tup, this is a better Doom Zoom than you used to be.
This is kind of a nice Doom Zoom. And we're doing some touchy subjects. And is dropping the S-bombs that we're going to current events and who's in her gang and stuff. Yeah,
Brecky, do you remember when Tup was part of the Doom Zoom?
But it was so short-lived, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was very doomy.
The legal teams between the powerhouses they got involved, and
I remember
wondering how that was.
And it was like Chris and Nate and the other guy, and I didn't follow the other guy, so I was like, "Who is the fourth?"
Well, I'm sure a lot of people thought that of me because I always thought it was funny because they're all real serious. They take it real serious. For sure.
Oh, they're very serious.
And then I'm cheesing it up on all these dooms topics. Like,
you kind of leveled it off.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't Canadian prepper. It was the dude with the
full spectrum.
Full spectrum. There you go.
Yeah.
And he's a hardcore prepper. He's like the real deal, like where he's
like
animals,
underground bunker.
I don't think he has a bunker, but as far as like a homestead and stuff, and he lives barely off the grid. He has his home studio for it's really impressive, like how. And I've always been impressed with his speaking abilities because I'm always flubbling over my uhs and ums and stuff, and he's like a polished. He was the Chat GPT for preppers before Chat GPT was a thing. He's just flawless. So, but it's just a different style too that it appeals to. You know.
I just love watching Tup on those. You could just see like the doom in all of them, and then Tup tried to be like, but like there was nowhere to go.
Yeah, I was always trying to make him laugh. It makes him human, but
there were some good conversations.
We've been trying to. We have an email thread that we're trying to get stuff, but you gotta. These are juggernauts that we have to schedule and stuff. So
luckily we don't have that issue. We're like we have you and Lisa and you know that's what we. Brecky and I are just here to like hang out.
Yeah,
that's the whole thing.
Nothing to worry about.
We can be the comic relief.
We're just chasing clout.
I think they're keeping us on topic because normally Casey and I would be veering off into some random direction and something. So no, we're
that is the one thing that's different. That is the one thing that's different. Yes.
Yeah, she's kind of cleaning up our act a little bit, and yeah, I like it.
Yeah. No, this is a fantastic thing here we have going on here.
We didn't talk about boobs at all tonight.
Well, yeah, I wanted to get to that. There's two things we didn't discuss.
Okay.
The left one and the right one?
Okay.
I didn't take it there.
Yeah.
Oh, you didn't. Oh, sure. Okay, that's fine. Yeah, this is great. I can't tell if I don't know Brecky well enough yet because we've only had her on one. Like I can't tell. Sometimes she makes a face, and I'm like, "All right, is she over us? Is she just done?"
I am terrible
and then she comes
at
back
lying.
and laughs, and I'm like, "All right, we're good."
Everything I think is here. Although I was trying to read through some of the comments and try to figure out like who was saying what. So some of that could just be my reaction to comments as well. But yeah, I can never play poker because I literally can never lie. Like my husband knows it. Everything I think is like right here. Like I'm just like, ooh, like I just, yeah. No, I'm not over you guys. I was trying to follow the There's some comments that didn't make sense, so I was.
That's all right. Now that you're on this side of the chat room, like you can just see, like it just goes, and you do the best you can to keep up.
It's wonderful. It's wonderful to have people who are chatty.
I've been behaving myself by not addressing all of them.
Yeah, well, on Sutton,
when
you're doing your solo one, it's amazing.
Hilarious, but then
it's painful not addressing them all. Yeah, because no prepper can do a poop bucket video and keep a straight face while doing it. I could.
Challenge accepted.
So we know what's coming out next week.
No, I've already figured out what I'm doing next month. Sorry. And I like to watch all the prepper channels because they all have different focus, which gives me ideas that I haven't thought of. See, that's totally what I get into. Oh, look at that. Oh, see. There you go. Casey, you're pretty cool.
It's pretty fancy.
We got some things. We got make it work.
But I mean, yeah, you can look at people's different viewpoints on it, and then just take what you want and leave the rest. Definitely.
Yeah. But I do think when you're very beginning, it's hard to do that because you want to know that there's a place for you. And some channels have a very particular, and they're interested in not being very, like they're very loud about it. And that's fine. There's other channels.
Right. And that's where you kind of go, okay, it's time to be an adult now and click away. Because
but if you don't know where to look, I think it can be hard if you go to 2 or 3 or 4 of those and go, is it just everyone? That was my experience anyway. Like when I first got out there and I was looking specifically for preppers, so I wasn't finding you yet because I wasn't looking at canning stuff.
The
people at that time were Southern offered the big. It wasn't innate then. They were still growing. They weren't the biggest voices out there. We're talking about older, like guys who were in their 50s then putting out videos in their garages. And they were the ones making the most videos. And I was just like, you are very angry. Is there anybody talking about prepping that's not angry? And I eventually found TUP, and I eventually found City Prepping through TUP. And then I eventually found, some of these other names that we know. And then I got more into homesteading, and that's where I found you, Lisa, and Linda's Pantry. And, a lot of the women who are teaching pantry preparedness, really the homestead preparedness overlap. And that was really great. But there was a time in which, I lived outside of San Francisco. Like I did not live in an area. At the time, I had no interest in living in a rural area. Like that just didn't apply to me. So I was like, garage. I rent a room in a townhouse. Like I have a bed I can put things under, and that's it. Someone help me out. And there was I think a thought that most people who would be interested in prepping would be people who were suburban or rural. And I think that's changed. I think that there's a lot more people talking about apartment prepping. TUP has talked about apartment prepping and stuff like that. I think that's more common now, but I feel like, 8 years ago, it wasn't as big of a part. You had to really look for it. And I'm grateful that we've had more and more people making channels and doing podcasts and writing blogs and like being in the conversation. I think it's a wonderful thing.
See, and I remember my OG preppers were women. Bear Prepper. I don't know how many people remember Bear Prepper. Or Missy, what was her name? Missy. Anyway, so these were women preppers that were out there. And for some reason, they're the ones I ran into first. And they're long gone. They've got out of it a long time ago. So those were the ones that I keyed in on. And they weren't as far leaning as a lot of the ones that are out there today. But yeah, if you can't, that's why politics and religion are never allowed to be talked about, on my channel, in my group, anything, because I don't care. I don't care if you pray to your left toe every other Saturday of the month. Okay. And I don't care who you voted for. So now you want to talk about toilet paper and chicken? Let's rock on. I'll talk to you all day long. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think there's also an interesting thing with the algorithm and the monetization piece of it, where it's also, I think, like when I started, I was City Prepping and Canadian Prepping and TUP and the homesteaders with Lumna Acres and Pratt Family Homestead, and like just trying to learn the skills and figure out the stuff that wasn't scary or whatever. And then there's a threshold where kind of all of them were in the like 10,000 to 100,000 subscribers when I was watching them. And then once they started to hit higher, then there's another monetization loop that starts happening. And it seemed like all of a sudden a lot of the videos for those bigger channels, not Pratt Family Homestead or Lumna Acres, but like Canadian Prepping and City Prepper, would still have kind of like gear reviews and things like that, but it was more news related. It was more the world is coming to an end, and the frequency of the videos was picking up. And so then you had to kind of look for other newer voices that were having different, that more informational content as opposed to the news and fear and clicks and all of that sort of stuff.
Fear sells.
It does.
Yeah.
Lead with what bleeds. That's when your YouTube becomes your business, you have to make money. It becomes a business, and you figure out what sells, and what sells is people being angry and afraid. And again, that's part of, for me, the motivation of hopping on YouTube. Like, who needs another prepping channel? But I decided to do it because I didn't want to lead with fear. And my tagline used to be fear-free emergency preparedness. Like, that was what I used to say every video, because biggest channels, unfortunately, do lean into the fear clickbaits or the anger-inducing clickbait because it makes you money, right? I mean, Tup, I think it's the reason why you're not at 1 million subscribers, because you didn't do all the fear stuff. You're funny. Like, you're trying to get people to do it from this, like...
No, he's organized.
No, he's also generally unlikable, and there's a whole backstory.
He's a horrible person.
He's been canceled several times.
Well, I never wanted YouTube or anything to be my job, because it changes things. If you're if you like playing guitar and you also and you want to be a full-time guitar player, for example, you're going to start hating music because you're doing stuff just for the money stuff. I think the money part of YouTube kind of messed things up a little bit, and I think like all of us probably, if there was no affiliate accounts and no Google AdSense and stuff, I think we'd still be on here talking about prepping and stuff. And I think there's a lot of YouTube's kind of overpopulated now with people just seeking that kind of either the fame or the money part of it, and that's kind of a shame.
But there's enough room for everyone to do it. I mean, I've been a social media addict, since they came out with social media. I always thought I loved AOL chat rooms. I would go into prepping AOL chat rooms. Did I mention I'm older than fart dust? Okay, so when
sorry.
It's just, I have always lurked in prepping message boards or homesteading message boards. I've always lurked in those to see, I thought it was genius when I found out you could stick dryer lint in a toilet paper roll and start fires with it. Holy crap, So, I mean, you're around long enough, all this stuff just keeps regurgitating. But you're never going to run out of people that want to learn it. And you're never going to run out of people that they attract people that are more like them. So you and the four of us could sit down and talk about the color of the sky, and we would all do it differently, and everyone would attract somebody completely different, but we'd all get the same amount of people at the end.
Except for Tup, because he's unlikable.
No. See, all he has to do is just unbutton one more button.
All right.
Okay, here it comes. Someone said in my video, because I had the same outfit for my video, they thought it was a Catholic priest, is what they said.
Yeah, Catholic priest.
There's been some great. That was the comment I wanted to. Yeah, that's an awesome comment for Vermont gardening. So
first-time viewer and commenter in 10 minutes, I've discovered this is what I've been looking for, and just sub to each of you. Well, thank you very much.
I feel like our job is done here, ladies and gentlemen.
We did it.
I feel like Vermont Gardener, thanks for subscribing. We've all stopped our channels now. Our mission is complete.
Pigsfly has a request.
Yeah, I like that EDC request.
Wait a minute. Pigsfly has an EDC
and I'm gonna have to run because my kids are about to storm the office because they have to go to piano lesson. So
okay, hold on, what's Pigsfly? Should do an EDC, what you carry in a bra. Okay. All right.
I carry my boobs in them.
All right. Well, maybe next week we'll do EDC or something like that. Well, stay tuned.
Kevlar lined, it has soft body armor.
All right, everyone. Well, thanks for joining. Thanks for tuning in. If you haven't already, subscribe to all of the channels, all of the people, all the time. And thumbs up, and we'll see you next week.
Okay.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.